Hello everyone and welcome to day 9 of 30 Days of Godzilla. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most epic monster movies of all time, Destroy All Monsters. What makes this movie so famous and so awesome is the abundance of monsters in it. There's Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, Minya, Gorosaurus, Manda, Varan, Baragan, Kumonga, Anguirus, and King Ghidorah. Oh, and before I forget the monsters that I haven't talked about yet, each made their first appearances as followed. Manda first appeared in Atragon, Gorosaurus first appeared in King Kong Escapes, Baragon appeared in Frankenstein Conquers the World, and Varan made his very first appearance in the movie Varan the Unbelievable. Now that I got that out of the way, let's dive into the history of this movie a little bit more. Now, originally, Destroy All Monsters was supposed to be the big finale for the Godzilla series, but as we know, the show must go on, and so it did. Now, don't get me wrong, this movie is awesome for all its monsters. In fact, it's incredible. The only issue I have with this movie is that there isn't enough of that. I feel like with this movie, there's a bit too much of a focus on the human characters and not enough on the monsters. And those elements are rather boring in this film, and it really drags it down. Although some Godzilla films have moments with a lot of human characters that take up a lot of screen time, but it's just, the characters in this movie aren't as interesting as some of the characters in the other Godzilla films. There's a stretch of about a half hour of this movie that's really dull, but once you get through that portion, the movie picks up again and becomes an entertaining thrill ride. So the plot of this movie goes like this. It takes place in the year 1999, which would technically put it at the end of the Showa timeline. Although this really kind of has some issues with it, considering that Minya is not a full-grown Godzilla by now. You'd think in like 50 years he'd be able to actually finally be able to grow. Or I shouldn't say 50, like 40 years. I mean, come on. Anyways, it's the end of the 20th century and all the world's kaiju have been rounded up and contained on this place called Monsterland. Here the monsters live in peace and are incapable of escaping. So everything seems to be going just keen until, you guessed it, aliens start showing up and start fucking things up and trying to take over the world. Godzilla attacks New York, Rodan attacks Moscow, Mothra attacks Beijing, Manda attacks London, and Gorosaurus takes out Paris. Basically, all fucking hell is broken loose. So we eventually find out that the alien race responsible for controlling the monsters is known as the Kilax, who say that Earth must surrender to them or they will unleash all the monsters and destroy the entire planet. Now, the Kilax are a race of female aliens in the Godzilla series, and compared to some of the other alien species type races, humanoids, whatever you want to call them, they're honestly the weakest in the entire series. My favorites are actually the simians from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, because those things, when they get shot in the face, they turn into space apes, and they have a bit of a cool factor compared to the Kilax, who are really dull and boring. So the Kilax tell the humans to surrender, and of course they don't, and eventually the humans are able to break control of the monsters. Now, with the control of the monsters having been broken, the Kilax send their last trump card, which ends up being King Ghidorah. Now, when the aliens send out King Ghidorah to fight the other monsters, it's really not much of a competition, because it's several monsters against one, and this is honestly one of the coolest scenes of all time. As a fan of a monster movie saga, the Kaiju saga, this is a dream come true. This is one of the greatest scenes of all time in any monster movie. It's just classic. The only thing that bums me out about this is that both Varan and Baragon show up and don't really get to do much. They just kind of disappear in the fight. But other than that, it's just awesome to see all the monsters gang up and fuck up King Ghidorah. When King Ghidorah is beaten, the Kilax appear to have another monster called a fire dragon, which turns out to just be a spaceship in disguise. Then it gets destroyed and the world is saved, and the final shot of the movie is a pretty great shot. It just shows the monsters looking out as it appeared to be their final movie. Destroy All Monsters is a pretty good entry in the series. It gets slow for a little while, which really hurts the film, but then it picks up towards the end. It kind of makes up for its lost like 30 or 40 minutes of blandness. Now, this would have been the finale, but of course the series went on, which as a fan, I'm glad. But unfortunately, tomorrow's video is going to be talking about Godzilla's Revenge. Oh man, talk about shit. Godzilla's Revenge, oh god. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe if you haven't already. 30 Days of Godzilla is continuing. Tomorrow we get a third of the way through. And yeah, I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.